So in today's video, I am going to run through the fundamental steps that you want to consider when starting an online brand. And I'm going to deliver on the clickbait and let you know one huge mistake that you want to avoid. Beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. If you don't know me, I'm Giles, and while I spend most of my time here running and growing my brand or walking my incredible dog Darwin, I've apparently now decided to make it my mission to put out actionable content that's going to help you and others hopefully not make the same mistakes that I've made over the last decade. So if you're watching this, it probably means you want to start a brand, or else I don't know why you're here. But whether that brand is clothing, jewelry, car parts, hair products, or even digital products, there's a set of fundamental steps that you need to take to get things up and running. Now there's a lot that goes into each step, and I'll go into each of these in far more detail in the future, but for now, I'm just going to outline each one before moving on to covering that big mistake I talked about in the title. So let's start with an obvious one. What are you going to call your brand? For some people, this might be the first thing that pops into their head, but for others, it can feel like a massive roadblock. How can you possibly start without a name? Your brand name is undeniably important and will become hard to change as time goes on. However, it's not something you have to have set in stone from day one. The concept to creation of any product or brand is not an overnight process, and there will be more than enough time to throw about ideas if something doesn't feel correct. Eventually, you will need to commit to something, but try to let that decision happen organically rather than letting it overwhelm you and locking you into a stalemate. Something that is hugely important is to make sure that name doesn't already exist. Nothing is going to break you faster than a cease and desist right after you've purchased a load of stock with your new brand name plastered all over it. Once you do secure that name, however, be sure to snap up the appropriate domains, social handles, and everything else, because I've watched people miss out on perfect Instagram handles purely because they waited another week. Do you need the perfect logo to start? Once again, a logo can be a huge part of your brand, especially because there's so many amazing ones out there. However, there's also a lot of incredibly successful brands with simple typefaces of their logo, and even more with awful logos that you can't even remember, yet they still pull in millions a year. Much like the brand name, the logo can wait. It doesn't have to be figured out from day one. And also it can change as time goes on. So many massive brands have had drastic facelifts over the years. Additionally, you're going to mature, your brand is going to mature, and trust me on this, you're going to find fault in the logo that you initially liked at the beginning, so just don't stress over it too much. Trademarks. Trademarks are expensive and often require the hiring of an expert in that specific field to make sure you're covered in the areas that you need to be. You don't need to worry about these yet. There will come a time when it's important and you shouldn't forget about them, but just don't lose sleep over it now. Do you need a business partner to start? The simple answer is no. You don't need one. If you already have an organic relationship building and you're both developing the early ideas of your brand, then great. Work with that. However, you don't need to go out and find one if you don't have one. As your brand grows, opportunities for this kind of thing will present themselves. And when they do, you're going to be so much more calculated in what you're missing in your business and whether or not you needed a partner anyway. Jumping into business with a best friend can have positive outcomes, but it also can result in a fallout, so be wary. Business partners should complement each other, in the sense that they should have strengths where you have weaknesses and vice versa. Don't be won over by money or something superficial that seems great on paper, but in the long run, it's just not actually going to bring anything positive to the business. Do you need to set up an official company? Setting up an official business is fairly cheap and easy to do in most countries as far as I'm aware. However, it doesn't need to be the roadblock between you officially committing to the brand. For some people, it can be really empowering, but just don't let it hold you back from starting. You're not going to have the tax man slamming down your door just because you've made a little bit of money on the side selling some tester t-shirts to friends. As the brand grows, and if you plan on making proper money, then you do need to do these things, but just don't let it stress you out too much. Your local government authority will have really accessible resources with regards to how to start a company. So just hit up Google, check it out, and just get started, really. What's your niche? Now this is actually quite a big one. However, I'm hoping you already have an idea of what you're looking to do and in what space you want to operate. If you're watching this thinking, I just want to make money online, then you probably need to rethink your approach. Once again, this shouldn't be something that stops you from starting, but it definitely should be an early consideration. For some, it might be obvious and not really need a second thought, but for others, you might just need to refine things. For example, I've done parkour since 2003. I've worked in the space as a filmmaker for years before I started my brand. When I did start the brand, I didn't really have an option. I still don't moving forward. Everything I've ever done has been focused around parkour because I live and breathe the niche. I know the space better than anything else, which puts me at a huge advantage over someone who wants to step in and just try and make money from it. This is ideally what you want to be looking for. An interest in a space that already excites you. Something where you can step in, recognize a problem, and offer potential solutions for future customers. Something you understand that you can market in a way that evokes emotion from people within the niche. While your niche and target audience can shift and expand as time goes on, you have to consider the following. If you plan on taking this business seriously, you are going to spend years of your life working on it. And trust me, it's not all glamorous fun stuff. You have to accept that you're going to be playing the long game with a view of having a positive effect on your chosen market. Patience is key, and if you're going to be playing the long game, it may as well be in something you enjoy and that you're interested in. Another thing you want to be aware of is positioning yourself too broadly. If you take clothing brands, for example, so often you see brands popping up who basically go, our niche is the culture of urban streetwear. And it's way too vague. It's like saying my favorite movies are the ones with humans in them. You want to be more granular than that. People buy from brands that they can create an emotional attachment to. Quality of your product is undeniably important, but until we can display a physical representation of a hoodie in your living room while you're scrolling Instagram, it's going to be so dependent on how well you can market to your chosen niche. So you may as well know it like the back of your hand. Do you need to do market research? This one tags onto the topic of niches pretty directly, but it can vary slightly depending on your product offering. In the realm of something pretty standardized and easy to obtain, like clothing, knowing your niche well is similar to knowing your target customer. However, if your brand and product offering are more specific than this, and maybe involve making bespoke products from scratch, or even catering a brick and mortar service to a certain area, this is where you need to put in some serious time. Market and customer research will vary depending on the situation, but usually what you're hoping to obtain is enough information to create a customer profile, or even multiple customer profiles that you can create and then market to. If we're talking about setting up a business in a physical retail location, you also want to think about road traffic, foot traffic, public transport, demographics, even stuff like the weather. The reason for this is that you don't want to make a teen-focused coffee shop in an area with no schools and populated with nursing homes. You also don't want to make your custom maternity shoes for better ankle support in men's sizes 9 to 12 without any women's sizes. Obviously, those examples are super extreme, but you hopefully get where I'm coming from. In the early stages of developing your business idea, things like knowing your niche, knowing the problem that you're trying to solve, and your target audience are far more important than your name, your logo, your Instagram handle, and all that other kind of superficial stuff that you get so caught up on in the early days. How do you find suppliers and source your products? If you're not making stuff by hand or making digital products, you're probably sourcing them or looking to source them from a manufacturer who makes them for you. This is going to differ hugely depending on what you're wanting to sell, and I'm going to go into it in way more detail in a future video, but for now I'll leave you with this. Finding a good supplier is a nightmare. It's a headache. It can honestly make or break your brand, and it's a really scary thing to dive into and commit to. So there's a lot of different aspects that you want to try and figure out about the supplier before you start signing any contracts. It's really easy to go on something like Alibaba and you write a quote of what you want and immediately you get 1,000 yes men saying, yeah, we can do that, yeah, we can deliver that product. It's a lot harder for them to actually deliver on that promise. So as much as you're excited to get your products moving and get the ball rolling, don't rush into something if it doesn't feel right. Try and find one that operates with a really good level of transparency. You can see how they make your product from start to finish, or if they do outsource it, you want to know who they're outsourcing it to, why, and you just want that transparency. Try to look into building a good relationship with them because it can be hugely beneficial to have them on your side for a number of reasons, and ensure that they have consistent quality when it comes to their work. And it's 2021, but unfortunately we still have to say it. Make sure they treat humans like fucking humans. It's such a problem still, especially in industries like clothing and stuff like this. Just transparency, honesty, trust your gut is what I would say. Don't sign the dotted line until you feel really, really comfortable. Do you need a business plan? From speaking to a lot of older, traditional business people and mentors, many will swear by needing a concrete business plan with yearly projections and cash flow analysis over the next 3 years before you do anything. Like, do not take a step forward without a plan in place detailing every step you make over the next 3 years. However, if there's one thing that the last, 16 months has taught us, is that things can be pretty unpredictable. Volatility is everywhere. And while this can sound scary, it can also mean that things can explode upward at a rate far greater than you expected. You and your business are not a spreadsheet and shouldn't be restricted to running on one as if it's gospel. I'm in no way saying you should ignore these financial practices. In fact, I recommend doing everything you can do to become as financially literate as possible, because trust me, I have suffered for years through business and personal life just through being completely inept when it came to financial literacy. It's the biggest regret of my entire life is not learning about how to manage money earlier. All I'm saying is that there is an element of business that relies on gut, and it relies on your knowledge of the surroundings, and there's so many other aspects that are not confined to just a spreadsheet. At the end of the day, it really does depend on how much risk, i.e. money, you're throwing at things. And to simplify things, I'm going to break it down into a few different categories. If you're throwing some spare cash at an idea that you want to mess around with and see if you can turn it into something, then as much as it is a good idea to have a solid plan, you don't have to have every I dotted and every T crossed and every single percentage worked out, because at the end of the day, it's probably the type of money that you can hopefully afford to lose. If you're going in with higher personal risk, or starting off with a business partner or even a small team, and you're all putting proper cash on the line, then yeah, it's going to make sense to have some stuff laid out, specifically with regards to how your business relationship is going to work and how the financials will look for the involved parties as things grow. If you're looking to kick things off with a loan, whether it be from the bank or even the bank of mum and dad, you're going to need a business plan that showcases how you will repay the money, normally with interest and over what time period. No sensible lender is going to throw you money without knowing how and when it's coming back. The means of how you acquire the loan and how large the loan is will affect how comprehensive and over what timeline the plan needs to cover, which is something to bear in mind. The final big one is investor funding. And it seems to be so popular over the last few years that a business can't start without immediately going through a seed round to raise money for a highly inflated future valuation. And there's been some incredible success stories of companies that have grown this way, but also many, many more that have crashed and burned. The first thing to clarify with investment is that you are selling a portion of your business for money. The larger the percentage you sell, the more power those investors have over you. There are countless stories of people being blinded by stacks of cash who then come to later regret investment deals once they realize they have to answer to shareholders' wants and needs. If you're going to go down the route of looking for investment, you're going to need some incredibly comprehensive financial projections to back up your grand idea. Just to be clear, while I have had a bit of experience putting together pitch decks to raise larger sums of money, it is far from my forte, so I'm not really going to be talking about that kind of stuff on this channel. But the big question is, do you even need external funding? Probably not, and to be honest, you probably don't want it. With external money often comes the expectation to perform to a certain standard and repay that investment or those shareholders over a certain time. While a boost at the start can be incredibly beneficial, if you're watching this video, you're probably still in the mindset that you might not be doing this in a year's time. You don't want to get trapped into something you don't enjoy because you sold 30% of the company to an investor, or you've got some huge bank loan to pay off. A far better alternative is to go at it alone. Bootstrap the thing for as long as possible and learn that you truly enjoy all aspects of growing this brand. Learn through failures and successes and realize where and when it's going to make sense to take on outside investment. So I've clearly just covered a lot, and for some of you, you might feel super overwhelmed as to where to start. But before I go any further, I want to cover that one big mistake that so many people make. And if you hadn't already guessed it, it's wasting time. People spend so long planning stuff down to a ridiculous degree, when really the only way you can learn properly is to learn by jumping in and getting started. You're going to make mistakes. You have to accept that. But most of the stuff you thought would go wrong won't. And all the things you could never imagine going wrong will. The road of building a brand is never straight and smooth. So the only way to know if you're cut out for it is by taking your first steps. You have the internet at your fingertips, and every answer to every question you have is out there. Finish this video, pick something from the list, and go start. Just remember, I myself am still figuring this whole thing out. I'm making mistakes every single day, but I'm learning from them. I'm so far from the top of my metaphorical tower block of success, but I'm climbing it just every single day a little bit more. These are just my notes from the first floor, and I hope they help.